Okay, folks, we're going to be taking another look at Isom #1. This is the first offering from Eric July's Rippaverse. I've previously examined the first 29 pages. I'm about 30 more pages into the book at this point. I did have to pause for a while because I was doing some private reviews for some people who had comics that they're working on or had previously published, which is one thing that I do, by the way. If you've got a comic out there and you would like to get an opinion on it, you'd like to see maybe how it could be made better, you've got a script or artwork or lettering or things, and you want to kind of pass it by somebody who's been reading comic books for 40 years and see, maybe there are some places where it could be touched up, drop me a comment on YouTube or contact me on Twitter, and we'll see what we can do. Now, Isom, I'm going to be looking at the next 30 pages in Isom, but really only a few of them because I want to touch on one specific topic, which is fight choreography. Now, fight choreography has to do with making sure that what your characters do makes sense from panel to panel. And in one particular extended fight scene in Isom, there are at least 3 places in which that sense breaks down. So I want to take you first to this scene in Isom, where you've got a fight right about to start. Now, this is a fight between Avery Silman, the title character, and all these people who are about ready to attack him. So the fight starts. He's got a couple people who do kind of a swing and a miss. And when this scene ends, he's got 3 people behind him. 2 on this side and then 1 on this side. And then he's got 1 person charging at him. Now, when you come to the next scene, you still have 2 people behind him on this side and then 1 person behind him on that side. So that squares off. But the person who charged him from the front is now somebody he's throwing over his back in the direction that the person came. How did that happen? How did the person who was attacking Avery from the front become the person that he's now throwing from his back to his front? That's somewhat inconsistent. Now, it's possible that the guy maybe swang and missed and went past him and then Avery grabbed him as he was going by or something, but we don't see any of that, and so it makes for a confusing scene. What makes for an even more confusing scene is that after he throws the guy in front of him, he then walks up to the guy and kicks him into a couple of guys who I assume must be these 2 of these 3 guys from this panel, because otherwise, what happened to them? Because by the time that Avery throws this guy over his shoulder and is about ready to kick him in any direction, these 3 guys should have been on him. So the only thing I can think of is that Avery was kicking this guy into these 2 guys. But the problem is that he's kicking them in the opposite direction from where they were coming. So none of this fight choreography really makes any sense. So that's disappointing. Now I'm going to take you to the end of a particular fight, because I could take you to the next spot that I want to show you, but that spot is just too good. That spot's going to be the climax of this video. We've got a scene toward the end of the fight between Avery and the bouncer Santuan. By the way, Santuan, I finally learned his name from a police officer who arrives after this entire fight is done. So Avery, after that fight that Avery was in with the guys in the club, then Santuan arrives, who had previously fought Avery and won. And Avery is now confronting him, and he's having about as much luck with Santuan as he did before. So you've got Avery, who's just been knocked on his ass by Santuan in the silhouetted in the foreground, and now Avery realizes, I'm going to have to get creative. Now he's been knocked near to a wall, and he's going to use that wall to his advantage. So Santuan is chasing after him. Avery leaps up on the wall, and then, using super strong leg muscles, propels himself into Santuan. And here's where I have a problem. He propels himself into Santuan. Not a big deal. Understood. But he propels Santuan into another wall. Where is this wall? This wall is all the way across the street. So Avery pushed off the wall into Santuan, and though Avery can't fly, we've already established that, somehow their bodies followed a direct line instead of a parabola, which would normally, send them tumbling to the ground, all the way across the street into another wall. Now, I understand this is a comic book, but at some point, even the comic books have to somewhat obey the law of physics unless there's something else at work. Now, Avery can't fly. If Avery can't fly, that means then when he collides with Santuan, from that point forward, their arc should go like this. And yet, they stay in a straight line all the way until they get across the street? I don't see it. I don't see it, especially because they're fighting kind of in a parking lot type area. So I don't know how far they must have traveled, but it's an extensive way. And there's no way that they could have traveled that far, no matter what force he exerted bouncing off the wall, to go all the way in a straight line without, at some point tumbling into the ground. And not only that, but this is one of the most anticlimactic fight endings ever. I mean, yeah, he rams into Santuan, and then Santuan and him ram into a wall across the street, and that's it. Done. No more. I mean, apparently that's all it took to take Santuan out. I mean, never mind any punches thrown, never mind the kicks thrown. I mean, it was basically Santuan gets taken out by crashing into a wall. I mean, that's very anticlimactic. But, I mean, the choreography of the physics of having to go in a straight line all the way across the street is just, that's another thing that just breaks reality there. But what I really want to show you is this part from the middle of the Avery Silman and Santuan fight. So Avery Silman and Santuan have started to fight here. We've got Santuan throwing a punch at Avery. Avery dodges the punch, and as Santuan goes by, he spins around and he does a kick, and apparently Santuan finds that pretty impressive because he says, where the heck did you learn to do that? And then they get up, and now we're going to see this absolutely explosive page. I mean, really, if you look at this, it's totally explosive. Look at that page. Oh my God. When they collide, what is going to happen? I mean, this is setting up for an enormous impact where things are going to shatter like throughout the neighborhood. Or not. Before they collide? After they collide? Or did they collide? I can't tell. Did they jump past each other? Is that what happened here? I mean, you've got this enormous shot set up where it looks like they are going to just absolutely slug the hell out of each other. And then the next thing is they're skidding backwards as if they bounced off each other's chests or something. What even is this? I mean, I have no words to describe just how this does not segue into this. I don't get it. Why? I mean, I don't. You don't have to have been reading comics for 40 years like I have to know that something is just effed up about that. Something is not right about a scene in which you've got two guys about to just collide like that, and then all of a sudden they just skid backwards? I mean, what kind of crouching tiger, hidden dragon crap is that? The reason I'm at a loss for words is that that's so wrong, nothing I can say can fix it. And that's really wrong. So, usually I try to be constructive, but how do you construct that? How do you turn that into something believable? How do you turn that into something, exciting? How do you turn that into something? How do you turn it into something that's not crap? Oh well. I mean, look. The only thing that I can tell you from that example, I shouldn't even have to say it. Make sure what you're doing from panel to panel makes sense. If you've got two guys who are about to be exploding against each other, the next panel should be them exploding against each other, or at least showing some sort of, climactic devastation from it. You shouldn't show the guys just kind of skidding backwards as if they're doing some kind of damn ballet. If you've got people who are behind you, don't make them in front of you the next panel. And if you've got somebody who's in front of you, don't make that person behind you the next panel. These are easy things. And how these principles got violated in this comic is just mind-blowing. And it's almost not worth putting this video out for, because it's almost like saying, it's almost like showing a house that collapsed into rubble, and I'm trying to point to the rubble and say, now don't do that. Well, no crap, don't do that. I mean, everybody knows you don't want to build a house in such a way that it's going to fall apart. But, what do I tell you? Oh, God. Yeah, so I would say that, just in itself, the fight choreography from this extended scene that goes from the club all the way through the fight in San Juan has got to be one of the most disappointing things about the book so far. And there's little other things that I'm going to touch on later on in my next video, because the mistakes are starting to pile up. And we're getting to the point where, both from a comics technique standpoint and from just a philosophical standpoint, I'm starting to have real problems with this book. So I don't know. I mean, I hope you can take this as an example of just what not to do, because I don't know how to really take that and try and reconstruct it into any kind of, well, here's the technique you use to solve these kinds of problems. I mean, with the fight choreography, just make sure that you don't get your spatial positioning mixed up. I mean, God knows, with that particular room that the fight was taking place in, I'm not sure I could tell you, which wall was which from one panel to the next either. So, just have an idea of where your characters are, how they should be interacting, and don't do an obvious miss. Like that whole, here they're about to collide and then all of a sudden they're skidding backwards. That it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. And it's the kind of thing where I almost want to just basically shut the door and say I can't recommend anything from this company going forward. Seriously. That's how bad this is. That's how bad this is. But we will trudge through. There's more to cover. And, I've still got some pages that I haven't read yet. And so I'm going to read those pages, and maybe there will be something redeeming in those. But I've got a few more things that we need to work out. A couple more videos that I want to make about the ground that I've already covered. And, make sure that you are subscribed so that you catch those videos, because you're going to want to watch the whole thing. You're going to want to watch the whole series. So check back with the videos I've already put out. Wait for the videos that I'm going to be coming out with, and we'll get through this thing together. Mike Partika, please do subscribe. I'll talk to you later.